Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Ready to embark on another storytelling journey filled with wisdom and warmth? One day a professor stood at the front of his classroom, ready to teach his students an important lesson about time management. He took out an empty bottle and began to put several large rocks into it until the rocks piled up to the top of the bottle. He asked the students, "Is the bottle full?" The students answered in unison, "It's full." The professor smiled, took a bag of small rocks from under his desk, slowly poured them into the bottle, and gently shook the bottle so that the small rocks filled the spaces between the large rocks. Then he asked the students again, "Is the bottle full now?" The students hesitated a bit, but answered, "It's full." The professor nodded and took out another bag of sand from under his desk and poured it into the bottle. The sand quickly filled all the spaces between the small stones. The professor asked the students a third time, "Is the bottle full now?" The students answered with certainty at this point, "It's full." Finally, the professor took out a bottle of water and poured it into the bottle, and the water filled all the gaps. The professor looked at the students and said, "I think you have realized that this bottle is like your life. The boulders represent the most important things in your lives, like family, health, and friendship. If you put these big stones into the bottle of your life first, you will still be able to fit them in even if you put the small stones, sand, and water in later. But if you put in the small stones or sand first, there will not be enough room for the big stones." The professor went on to explain, "The small stones represent those things that are of secondary importance, such as a job, a house, and a car. Sand, on the other hand, represents the minutiae and chores of life. If you start out by focusing your time and energy on these little things, there won't be enough room left for those things that really matter. Water, on the other hand, symbolizes those least important trifles that would not affect your lives much even without them." Time is like a container. How we allocate it determines the appearance of our life. And life, in addition to busy, but also need to leave white to give the soul a corner of rest. In a small town, there is a small, clean, and bright cafe. Every night, the place is visited by an elderly customer. He always sits in the corner alone, quietly sipping his drink, as if he's running away from something. Two waiters at the cafe notice the old man, one younger and one older. The younger waiter is filled with disbelief and impatience with the old man, believing that he is taking up time when the store should be closed. He is anxious to get home and sees no reason for the old man to linger. The older waiter, however, was able to understand the old man's feelings. He knew that some people need a peaceful place to face their inner loneliness and emptiness. Late one night, the young waiter again urged the old man to leave, while the old man just gave him a calm look and continued to drink his wine. The young waiter could not help complaining.
"What does he have to stay? What a waste of time to have a home and not return."
The older waiter said softly,
"Maybe he has nowhere else to go. Maybe this is the only place he feels at ease. We all have a need for a corner like this."
At that moment, the old man put down his cup, stood up, and slowly walked out of the cafe. The young waiter hurriedly closed the door and prepared to go home. The older waiter, on the other hand, continued to stay in the cafe, clearing the tables and thinking about the old man's loneliness. The young waiter walked to the door and suddenly stopped, turned back to the older waiter and said,
"Why do you understand him so well? Don't you want to go home?"
The older waiter looked at the younger waiter and smiled faintly.
"I too have had moments like that, alone and without support, with only a quiet corner to make me feel safe. Perhaps one day you will realize that there are some things in life that are more important than going home."
The young waiter nodded thoughtfully and left the cafe. The older waiter, on the other hand, continued to stay in that clean and bright place, silently watching over those who needed peace and quiet. Everyone has the need for a peaceful corner to face their inner loneliness and emptiness. It is incredibly important to be able to find a quiet place or to be understood and accepted when you need it most. Do you long for a quiet corner of your own? Share it with us in the comments section. A young man who had encountered a lot of difficulties and setbacks in his life felt very depressed. He went to his grandmother to complain, hoping to get some comfort and advice. After listening to his complaint, his grandmother took him to the kitchen, took out 3 pots, filled them with water, and put them on the fire to boil. Then she put carrots in the first pot, eggs in the second, and coffee beans in the third. After a while, the water boiled, and grandmother fished out the carrots, the eggs, and the coffee beans, and then said to the young man,
"Look at these things and tell me what you see."
The young man replied,
I see carrots, eggs, and coffee beans.
The grandmother smiled and said,
"Look more closely."
Upon closer inspection, the young man realized that the carrots had softened, the eggs had hardened, and the coffee beans had turned the water into fragrant coffee. Grandmother explained,
The carrot softened in the boiling water, the egg hardened in the boiling water, and the coffee bean changed the nature of the water. We also encounter various difficulties and setbacks in life, and the key lies in how we respond to these challenges. You can choose to become weak like the carrot, or hard like the egg, or change your circumstances and make an impact like the coffee bean.
This story teaches us that there are different ways we can choose to respond to difficulties and setbacks. The key is how we use these challenges to grow and change ourselves while also influencing our surroundings. In the face of life's trials, we can choose different postures, and each choice determines what kind of person we will become.
You died in a car accident on the way home. The crash wasn't particularly serious, but it was fatal enough. You leave behind a wife and 2 children who will be devastated. But that's not the point of this discussion. When you realize you've left this world, you meet a stranger who claims to be God. He takes you to a place of emptiness where time seems to have stopped. "What is this place?" you asked. "This is where we stayed for a while," God replied. "You have just left the human world." "So where am I going now?" you ask. "You will be reincarnated." You feel a trance. "So this is not the end of it all?" "No," God says, "this is just the beginning." "And what will become of me?" "You'll start a new life all over again, this time in a different time and place." "What about my family?" you ask anxiously. "What will happen to them?" "Don't worry," God says gently. "They will be taken care of, and though your departure saddens them, they will slowly recover." You are relieved, but still have many questions. Why reincarnate? What's the point? God looks at you with wisdom and kindness in his eyes. Each time you experience a new period of life, you learn something new and grow more. Eventually, after you have experienced all possible lives, you will become like me, a god. You look at God in surprise. Are you saying that I will become a god? Yes, everyone does. You are learning and growing with each life you experience, and eventually, you will understand all the pain and joy, all the emotions and experiences. What about other people? You ask. Are they like that too? Every soul is like that. We are all on this long journey, learning and growing one at a time, eventually merging into one and becoming part of the universe. And what is the point of all this? You continue to press. The meaning is growth and understanding, God explains. Through each life, you experience a different perspective and learn compassion and love. You realize that all lives are intimately connected and that we are all part of the whole. You contemplate for a while and finally understand God's words. Although you still have many doubts, you begin to realize that the journey of life is not just a short existence, but a continuous process of learning and growing, and that eventually, every soul reaches the highest level of wisdom and kindness. God looks at you with a smile. Now prepare for your new life.
The meaning of life is perhaps more profound than we realize. Each reincarnation is an opportunity for growth. Once upon a time, there was a big tree who fell in love with a little boy. Every day the boy would come to her, pick her leaves, and weave them into a wreath on his head. He would climb up her trunk and swing on her branches and eat her apples. They would play hide and seek together, and when the boy was tired, he would sleep in her shade. The boy loved the tree very, very much. The tree loved the boy too, very, very much. As time passed, the boy grew up and he stopped coming to the tree every day. One day, when the boy came back, the tree said, "Come, climb up my trunk, swing on my branches, eat my apples, and play in my shade." "I am no longer a little boy now," said the boy, "and I want money to buy fun things. Can you give me money?" "I'm sorry, I don't have any money. I only have leaves and apples. You can pick my apples and sell them so you will have money." So the boy picked her apples and took them away. The tree was happy. The boy did not come back for a long time. The tree felt a little lonely. One day the boy came back and the tree shook its branches happily and called, "Come, climb up my trunk and swing on my branches and be happy." "I am too busy to climb the tree now," said the boy, "and I want a house. Can you give me a house?" "I'm sorry, I don't have a house, but you can cut down my branches and build a house with them." So the boy cut down her branches and took them away. The tree was happy. The boy did not come back for a long time. When he finally came back, the tree shook its trunk excitedly and called out, "Come, climb my trunk and be happy." "I am too old to climb the tree now," said the boy, "and I want a boat to take me far away. Can you give me the boat?" "I'm sorry, I don't have a boat, but you can cut down my trunk and make a boat out of it." So the boy cut down her trunk and took it away. The tree was happy, but also sad, because she had lost everything she had. After a long, long time, the boy came back. This time, he had become an old man. "I'm sorry," the tree whispered. "I have nothing left to give you. I have no more apples." "I can't bite into an apple with my teeth anymore," said the boy. "And I have no more branches for you to swing on." "I am too old to swing," said the boy. "And I have no trunk left for you to climb." "I am too tired to climb," said the boy. I really don't have anything left to give you," sighed the tree. "All I have left are the old roots." "I'm sorry. I don't need much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest." "Well then," said the tree, "the old root is just the thing to sit down and rest. Come on, sit down and rest." The boy sat down and the tree was happy. What has the giving tree taught you? Leave your insights in the comment section. Omilas is a beautiful city with happy residents and lively holiday celebrations. There are no kings or slaves in the city. Technology is advanced. Everyone is in harmony. Children play carefree, and music and laughter fill the streets. However, all this beauty is built on a secret. In a dark basement, a skinny child is imprisoned. He lived in extremely harsh conditions, suffering from hunger and fear. All the residents of Omilas knew of the child's existence and understood that the city could only maintain prosperity and happiness if the child continued to suffer. Some were shocked, angered, and saddened when they first heard the secret. They wanted to rescue the child, but they soon realized that if they did so, the happiness of Omilas would collapse and everyone's lives would be thrown into chaos and misery. So, most people chose to accept this harsh reality and continue to enjoy their happy lives. However, there were always some people who could not endure this unjust arrangement. They chose to silently leave Omilas and walk towards an unknown place. They didn't know where they would go or what they would encounter, but they preferred to choose to leave this city built on pain rather than accept this twisted happiness. Those who left, they didn't tell anyone where they were going, nor did they leave any goodbyes. They just quietly walked away towards a place where no one would ever know. The story has been told, but the thoughts and feelings have just begun. I hope these stories will inspire you and help you learn Chinese and English and accompany you through every spring, summer, fall, and winter.